What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another live video. Today's live video, I came a little bit early. So from right now until April 17th, my live video schedule is gonna be Friday and Saturday. So on Friday, I'm going to be coming 3 p.m. and Saturday, I'm going to be coming 5 p.m. And that is going to be until April 17th. And the reason why is by April 17th, I'm going to be having a type course. So my schedule is going to change a little bit. But for now, I'm going to be coming live every Friday and Saturday. So Friday 3 p.m. and Saturday 5 p.m. until April 17th. So this will be my schedule. Like I said, my goal coming live is to answer you guys' question live, to have a live interaction with you guys, to help people that have questions. My goal is to help the future aircraft maintenance engineers. People are trying to find more information because I was in the same situation too. Trying to look for information online, and there was not that much information. So yeah, my goal today is to answer you guys' question. I have an hour. And the reason why is because I actually have work tonight. So I finished work this morning at 8 a.m. Slept for a little bit, woke up at 3. I'm gonna do the live for a little bit. Then after I gotta go back to work tonight. But yeah, my goal here is to answer you guys' question. If you guys have any personal question regarding aircraft maintenance engineering, you want someone to guide you through. I do this live video, and also I do offer a free consultation whereby we can schedule a call and I can answer all your questions. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to answer me. And also my Instagram is Peter Janded. I'm going to post it here. So if you guys have any personal question regarding aircraft maintenance engineering, you need someone to give you that information, someone to guide you through, learn from my mistakes, how to get your job, how to, the opportunities available. I do offer free consultation. All you gotta do is text me on Instagram and we can schedule a call. All right. So yeah, if you guys have any questions today, my goal here is to help you guys out and answer your questions. You can join the live video by clicking this link, or you can just type your question in the comment section. All right. I have an hour, so by 4 p.m. I'm gonna be out of here. All right. So if you guys have any personal question regarding aircraft maintenance engineering, please feel free to answer me. All right. The link is in the comment section. You can either text your question, or you can just click the link and join the live video. If you guys have any questions, so the first question we have is it true you can't earn a lot of money in general aviation, and how accurate is that? Um, Regarding aircraft maintenance, the answer I tell people whenever people ask me this question, I know at the end of the day, our goal is to make money, right? But there's a lot of sacrifices you gotta make, right? And to earn a good amount of money, it depends on a lot of factors. So it depends on the company you're working for. It depends on the city you are. You know what I mean? So those are the factors and it depends on the economy. So if you would ask the person that worked in let's say a line maintenance facility, right, it's going to tell you a different story. And if you talk someone that works in an heavy maintenance facility, it's going to have a different story, because obviously line maintenance guys get more paid than heavy maintenance. You know what I mean? And not to even talk about starting off as an apprentice. You can't make that much money starting off as an apprentice. But once you get your license, yes, you might not make money right away, but guess what? The license creates more opportunities for you. You know what I mean? So I don't like this. There's no answer to that question, because it all depends on a lot of factors that can limit the amount of money you make. You know what I mean? So if you work for a bigger company, of course you're gonna make more money. If you work for a smaller company, you can't make that much. You know what I mean? So yes and no, you can make a lot of money if you work for the right company, and if you don't work for the right company, you cannot make that much. You know what I mean? But there's money in aviation, man. There's money. You just got to find the right opportunity. You got to find the right connection to earn that. You know, I have people complaining in one of my previous job. I had people complaining about the pay. Yes, they were not paying them, you know, that much of a money. But guess what? They were working for a smaller company that was not paying that much, you know. And when I came to a bigger company, the pay is way more than what they were paying the licensed people previously, you know. So it depends on a lot of factors. It depends on a lot of factors. You know, in America, the pay is way more compared to Canada. You know what I mean? So those are the factors you got to consider. And when it comes to pay, if your goal is to make that much money, you got to start putting yourself out there. You got to start, looking for opportunities. You can't stay stagnant. I could have stayed in the previous company that I was working for. The benefits was okay, but my goal back then was to make more money. So I didn't stay there because I started looking for more opportunities until I got what I have right now. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's money in the industry. You just gotta find the right opportunity. So how do you like working in transport category side? Do you mean working for like an airline or something? If that's your question, I like it. And one of the reasons why I like working for like a transport company is the opportunity you get and the leverage, and also the fact that you get the opportunity to like work on different aircraft. Like every night I work on different aircraft. Last night I haven't worked on a 320 in a long time. um, I haven't worked in the 320 in a long time, and I got the opportunity to work on it. You know what I mean? Some night I work on the 67, I work on the 777, I work on the 330. You know what I mean? So working for an airline gives you that varieties of aircraft you can work on. Me personally, I love it. Rather than just working for like, let's say for a heavy maintenance facility, right? You're just working on one type of aircraft for like the whole year. You know what I mean? It gets boring sometimes. You know what I mean? But for me right now, I really, really love it because I get the opportunity to like learn from different aircraft, see how different aircraft works. You know what I mean? Yes, the system is almost the same, but there's still a lot of system, and there's a lot of components that are different from each other. So having that opportunity to work for like different aircraft, and you know what I mean, it's a privilege. So I like it. I like it. Personally, I like it. Hey, how's it going, Darren? How's it going, brother? So we got one question. How often do you do sheet metal? I don't do sheet metal. Like the last time I ever even worked on sheet metal was like 6 years ago. And the reason why is, like I said, there are different categories of maintenance. So you have the M categories, you have the categories, and S category. And the reason why Transport Canada split those categories is because, to prevent a lot of workload on people, to create expertise in different categories. You know what I mean? And mostly for the companies you're going to be working for, you're going to have different categories. Yes, there might be some jobs that you can do by yourself. The more experience you build, yes, you can do it. But for me personally, working on an actual sheet metal repair, it's been a long time I've done it. But for sometimes, like some screws are, whenever I'm removing the screw and it's like worn out, I can drill it out myself. Those are like the really basic structural repairs I do. But for like an actual repair, no, it's been a long time. We have different categories for that. For the most part, an M licensed guy would not be doing a HEST licensed job for the most part. So we got one question. Are you mainly maintenance, or do you also work in structures and avionics? Now I do mostly maintenance job, but building up my experience, especially in a heavy maintenance. When I worked in a heavy maintenance facility, I got the opportunity to do a lot of them. I did a lot of structural repairs. My first job at Bombardier Aerospace, man, I was doing a lot of structure. Like I was removing brackets, putting brackets, highlights, rivets. You know what I mean? And that's why I tell people, man, every maintenance, especially as an apprentice, going through that heavy maintenance, man, it's like a training, it's like a school. You learn a lot. Like it builds you up a lot. You know what I mean? I did a lot of structures in Bombardier. Electrical avionics, I didn't do that much. And that's because there is always manpower for avionics. Like there is more manpower for avionics. But right now, I don't really do that much structure or avionics job. It's been a long time I touch any avionics job. But before starting off my career, I did a lot of structure and avionics. Yeah, I think I answered the question. Yeah, so you're talking about airline. Yeah, like I said, airline, man, working for an airline company, you get the opportunities to like, you know, experience different aircraft, to touch different aircraft, at least get like a little bit of taste of from different aircraft, and that's something I really like about the airline company, you know. Heavy maintenance can be a little bit boring. I know you can do a lot of jobs repetitive, but working for like a bigger company, man, it gives you that opportunity to like learn a lot of aircraft. You know what I mean? Is there a way to check if I have completed 70% of your AMA logbook? Yes. So what you gotta do is count the whole sign off you have and count up with the total. I'm actually making a video on the log. I actually made a video on the logbook. I just don't have the time to edit the video, explaining how to, sign the logbook. But yeah, to see if you're 70%, all you gotta do is count your signature, divided by the total, of your sign off, and times it by 70. Another way you can check is by, for each signature you have, you're going to make sure you have at least 70% of each page. It depends on the transport inspector. Some of them want, so for sorry, for each page you want to have 70% for each page. Some transport Canada inspectors are really that picky. And actually the inspector that checked my logbook told me that too, right? It was like, for me, I had a mentality that okay, the 70% of the whole logbook, but he told me sometimes some inspector wants you to have 70% of each page signed off. But yeah, the logbook video is gonna come soon. I just gotta find time to edit the video and post it online. All right. I'm gonna have more explanation regarding the logbook on how to sign it off. I don't know if you're 70%. But if you're not sure, all you gotta do is count how many signatures you have, divided by the total number times 70%, and that should give you a. Me personally, I like to go a little bit above 70%. If I can go like 10 more signature above 70%, just saves you a lot of time. What is it called? Going back and forth with maintenance, with the Transport Canada inspector. So we got one question: Is it crazy physically? Is it crazy physically demanding job? Recently, I asked is I'm 47 and looking to switch up career. And this is gonna be my honest opinion. Aircraft maintenance or aircraft mechanic could be a physical what is it called job. In terms of like some jobs, it requires some strength. But I don't want to like but I feel like even at that age you're still capable of doing those type of job. It's not like you're doing general labor, and it's gonna be once in a while you're gonna be doing those physical job. For example, torquing like a boat, or like the wheel boat, for example, the tires. It could be like a strength demanding tax, right? Whereby let's say the torque is like almost 200, 300 foot-pounds. It requires a lot of strength. Sometimes you might have to replace some heavy parts, but are you gonna be doing that every day? No, you know what I mean. So it's not like you're doing general labor every day, but once in a while it could be definitely physically demanding. But at that age, is it gonna be a problem? No. I have coworkers, I have mentors that are both 47, 50, 51, 55, and I still see them, doing that job, man. So I don't think that should be a limit to you trying to switch up career. You know what I mean? Starting off now at that age, I think it's perfect, man. And the good thing is, it depends on what country you are. If you're in Canada, this is just a 2-year program. and you just got to go to school for 2 years, and by that time you're 40, 49, you can start you actually working as an apprentice and build up your experience. So I don't think age should limit you at all, man. There's a lot of opportunities, and I've seen older people, not even older, but like a little bit more at that age, switching up careers. You know what I mean? So definitely, I will definitely recommend it. It could get physical sometimes, but most of the time you're not doing physically tedious job. It's not always physically. So we got one question: which is better, M2 or M1? From my point of view, and this is my honest opinion, I like to be honest with you guys. M2 is way more better. It's way more better. Yes, people might tell you M1 you're going to learn a lot. Man, I don't really. The technology is changing. Generation is changing. Companies are not really focusing on M1 right now. You know what I mean? Talk less of manufacturing companies. There's not that much manufacturing companies for M1. Most of the aircraft we have now is turbine engines. And for you to work on a turbine engine, to be a licensed person on a turbine engine, you need an M2 license. So me personally, I definitely say M2 is way more better. If your goal is to, increase your job opportunity, your pay, everything, M2 is way more better. Way more better. You know what I mean? A lot of people might tell you M1, yes, you start from a shop. Nah, man, I tell people, man, don't waste your time on M1. Yes, you can get your M1, but if your goal is to like grow, get opportunity, M2 is way more better. And yes, in the future, if you want to get your M1, it's possible. Actually, you having your M1 and M2 gives you a lot of leverage. So if you have the combination of M1 and M2, automatically you're going to have your S license and E license. And that's one of the requirements for. So if you're trying to get your E license, you just having your M1 and M2 will give you your S license and E license automatically. So you don't have to go back to school or go back to or try to get your logbook signed for each category. So you having both licenses will give you your E license and S license automatically. But for me, my preference and from what I have seen, M2 has more opportunity, and I think M2 is way more better, way more better. See, M1 and M2 depends on if you want to work on a smaller aircraft or transport category aircraft. M1 works on jet air. Yeah, exactly. So me, if your goal is to work on smaller aircraft, you like piston engine aircraft, yeah, you can go for M1. But if your goal is to get more opportunities, get more pay, you know what I mean. Like I think the generation is changing, man. Everything is changing, and you gotta learn how to adapt. You know, even schools now, the particle schools are showing you more turbine engines. Because they know they in real life, for the most part, people are going to be working more on turbine engines. I have a lot of guys from M1 switching to M2 because they just tell me the workload on M1 is like crazily. It's too much. When you work for a small company as an M1 guy, man, you're gonna do a lot. Yes, it's good for experience, but now you're so limited to just M1. Like you're so limited. Once you have your M1 license, you're only limited to companies that work on piston engines. For example, if you get laid off, you can't really move that much, because you're limited to like for me personally, I just think M2 is way better, man. I think M2 is way better. Um, yes, is there advantage and different points of view from both sides? Yes, there is, but I just think M2 is way more better. Um, So how important is communication with the pilot as a mechanic? Man, it's really important, and there's a lot of factors that play into that. Communication with the pilot, let them know what's going on. Actually, on the journey logbook, whenever there's like a monitor, you legally you have to put it on the monitor, and that's a form of communication. Um, Telling the pilot, okay, this is we had the defect during our check, but it's been deferred or it's been rectified is really important because let's say God forbid they're flying and they have like the defect coming back, they can easily write it down. Okay, it's a repetitive defect. But talking to the pilot, good communication, man, it's a really good one. You know what I mean? And a lot of pilots really appreciate that whenever you tell them what's going on, because at the end of the day, they're in charge of the plane flying 40,000 feet. You know what I mean? It's better for them to know what's going on then and decide if they want to, if they're comfortable flying that plane. You know what I mean? Because it's people with life we're talking about. You know. But yeah, communication, man, it's a strong skill, and especially in maintenance in general. Communication is a really strong skill. I remember when I started off, that was my biggest problem, and it's not because I don't like talking. Was I just had a naturally introvert behavior. You know what I mean? Whereby I don't really talk to that much people. So I had to build up my communication skills, and luckily for me, me building up that communication skills got me the privilege to start this YouTube channel. Talking to people. But before I was really quiet. I was always been a quiet person. Don't really talk to that many people. But me starting off my maintenance career, man, has improved my communication skills a lot. Um, but yeah. I heard most M1 guys work mostly on Elo. When I say less opportunity, I don't mean like you're not gonna get anything. You know what I mean? I'm just saying from my point of view, from what I have seen, I might be wrong. Like I said, I have never worked in the M1 industry, so I can't really say that much about M1. But from what I have seen personally, I just feel like when it comes to pay and opportunity wise, I think M2 just opens a lot of doors. You know what I mean? Globally. But yes, M1 you can work on helicopters, you can work on piston engines, and man, you're gonna learn a lot, man. Like M1, you're going to actually learn a lot because you're going to be doing this because you're actually in a smaller crew. But for me, I'm just talking about opportunity in general, man, and I'm talking from my from where I worked. You know what I mean? But yeah, there might be these opportunities too in M1. You know what I mean? But I think things are just changing, bro. If your goal and you like helicopters more on piston engine, man, yeah, go for M1. There's opportunities on both sides. But I'm just talking about global opportunity and the privilege to get different type courses, um, you know, the workload, everything. I just think M2 is way better. But yeah, other people might have different point of view. Both licenses are pretty good to have. You know what I mean? But yeah, yeah. So we got one. It says not less opportunity, but definitely more travel and further away from the city. Yeah, a lot of M guys work there. Yeah, like I said, if you work in M1, man, you're going to be like you. And this is something I actually figured. I actually learned from a friend of mine. I worked in one company called AAR, right? And this guy worked for an M1 company. And he was telling me you are actually frequently this guy Frankie, you're actually right. You're frequently traveling with that aircraft whenever, so you it's like your personal aircraft, you know what I mean? So whenever this aircraft goes to a different location, 80% of the chance you are probably going to be following that aircraft. And that's just one of the benefits of M1. Like I say, you're going to be working a lot, you're going to have personal relationship with that aircraft, you're going to learn a lot from that aircraft. You know what I mean? Travel, especially helicopters, bro. Like traveling with that helicopters everywhere. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing about Hemwa. Each side has different benefit. Um, if your goal is to travel a lot, go to like up north, far away from the city, M1 is the way for you, man. It's the way. Like I said, you're going to be doing a lot of work, and but for me, I just think M2 gives you a lot of I don't know, it exposes you more to technology. For me, I like evolving, and that's just me personally. You know, are there advanced helicopters and piston engines? Yes, there are. Well, I just like more evolutional aircraft. And that's just my own point of view. Everybody's gonna have their own point of view at the end of the day. But those two licenses are definitely good. Um, yeah. So we got one question. I'm finishing school in a couple months in Calgary. Should I apply for a bigger airline or a smaller company or helicopters? Depends on your preference, man. Depends on your preference. Each side, like I said, has their benefit. And actually, let me break it down for you. So if you work for a bigger company or an airline, The benefit is yes, you get the privilege to work for like varieties of bigger aircraft. But the bad side is getting your logbook signed might be a little bit longer. It's gonna take you a while to get your logbook signed. But if you work for a company, smaller company, yes, you're not gonna get a chance to work on different type of aircraft. But you're going to work. You're going to learn a lot, man. You're going to learn a lot. Your logbook is probably going to be done in like 8 months. You're going to have different experience. You're probably going to go places not everybody has been to. I had a friend that worked for a company in Quebec City, and he was telling me how every weekend is probably going to like up north, like Yellowknife, Nudes, all those northern part of Canada, like showing me pictures I've never seen in my life. So you are probably gonna have those experiences, but you're gonna be home from far away from home for sure. So if you have family, it's probably not the best. You want something that is a little bit stable. I would say M2 is probably not the best because probably gonna do a lot of traveling. But if you want something stable, something at home, then definitely M1. But both side has its its own pros and cons, man. Depends on personal preferences, your personal taste. I can go on and mention the pros and cons of both sides, but I personally I've always loved M2. And maybe that's why I'm a little bit biased by M2 because my personal preference I've always been M2 starting off. But if you have someone that their whole career has been M1, will probably have 20 points of why M1 is better. You know what I mean? So that's why I tell people personal preference is definitely something you should consider. But yeah, I appreciate it, Nicholas. I'm probably gonna edit that video very soon. I just been a little bit busy with work now and school. But yeah, we got one question. What's your opinion on being an helicopter technician? Do you think it's a good career to pursue? Yes, helicopter technician is the same thing as M1. It's a really good experience. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to travel a lot. Like if that's your goal, as a single person, or if you just like traveling in general, man, you're gonna travel a lot. Especially if you get like a job for all these rescue, Red Cross, companies whereby they do a lot of rescuing. You're going to travel a lot, but also get ready to work in like crazy condition, man. You might go from +20 to like -20, depends on the location. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're going to learn a lot as a M1 person, licensed person. Man, it's going to be demanding though. It's going to be demanding in terms of like time. You know, you're gonna be far away from family, but you're going to travel a lot though, a lot. And that's one of the good things about maintenance, man. I really like it because there's different opportunities for everyone. If your taste is that person that likes traveling, you like going to different location, M1 is the right choice for you. But if you like, staying in one city, you know what I mean? M2 is probably the best choice for me. For me, I like that stability whereby, and people will ask me this question, why are you not doing contracting? I have done contracting, and I just feel like it's not healthy for me. Like I remember during COVID when I got laid off from one of my job. I got a contracting job in like a really small town. I was in the hotel for like 6 months. I was eating unhealthy, could not cook, nothing. I was buying food every day. So it's a lot of sacrifice. Did I like it? No, to be honest. I didn't really like it, man. I want to be mixed in society. I want to be around people, rather than just being in like a really small town. It's just my personal preference, man. But yeah, it's a good one, man. If that's your taste, man, definitely it's a good one, you know. Man, I appreciate it, man. If you guys have more questions, feel free. Is there a program in Canada shorter than 2 years? No. For M license, no. But for S license, I know there's a program in Centennial College. I believe it's like a 1 year, 6 months to a year program. It's called what is it called? Aircraft assembler or something like that. But anyways, it's for mostly people that are trying to go into like the structural part of assembly. But for actual M license, no, it's the minimum I have seen is 2 years, and it depends on the province. Actually, recently I found out in Quebec, it's actually a 3 years program. So they usually give you admission with like extended program, whereby let's say the first year you're going to be doing basic English, math, physics, like high school stuff. Then after the first year, that's when you start doing actual aircraft maintenance. But the minimum I have seen personally is 2 years. 2 years. They used to have these online course, but I don't know what happened. It got bought by a different company. So it makes I think you probably have to go for M. I assume there will be much more structure and avionics opportunity working on on helicopters. I could be wrong. Yeah, there is. I would say actually there is more for helicopters. There's probably more opportunities for M and E than structure. But if your goal is to get into structure, man, there's more opportunities in like a heavy maintenance facility, like for structural guys, and also assembly. And the reason why is heavy maintenance, you are removing everything. So during those inspection, a lot of times we find like corrosion, cracks, and they need structural repairs. You know, so for helicopters, I don't think there's going to be that much opportunities for S license. And just my own point of view, because helicopters gotta be flying. Like they need it to be serviceable every time, you know. Um, but I would say there's probably more opportunities for M1 and E for helicopters than the structure. So we got one question: is heavy maintenance better in terms of learning more about aircraft? Yes, heavy maintenance, man. If you want to learn, if you want to work a lot, you want to actually know the aircraft, man. Heavy maintenance is the way to go, man. You're going to learn a lot. But when it comes to sorry, the downside about heavy maintenance is you're going to be good with like installation and remover, rigging, all that. But when it comes to troubleshooting, you're going to slack a lot because during heavy maintenance, you're not doing that much troubleshooting. You're just removing parts, installing, fixing part. That's it. But actual troubleshoot, that's the good thing. See, that's the every side has its own pros and cons, right? You work for line maintenance, you're doing a lot of troubleshooting, Hemi Hill. But for heavy maintenance, you're doing a lot of installation, hands-on repairs. So I always tell people, I mean, this is just my own point of view, and I feel like it's the best way to go. From school, go to heavy maintenance, beat up your hand skills, especially for someone that has no type of mechanic background, you know, go to heavy maintenance, beat your hand skills. Man, after like 2 years and you go to line maintenance, man, you're gonna be good, man. Like you're going to be good. Not even talk about your logbook, getting your logbook as fast as getting it signed as fast as possible, you know. Um, but yeah, you're going to learn a lot in heavy maintenance, man. You're actually gonna see how things are installed. But when it comes to like troubleshooting, you're not gonna be doing a lot of troubleshooting in heavy maintenance. Yeah, M1 and M2 gives you E and S, but I heard most companies won't allow someone with M1, to do ES job. Yes, and that's the reason why Transport Canada had those categories. The M1 ES, and the reason why is it's a lot of human factors. Reducing stress load. You know what I mean? And most companies will not allow you to do E and S job because they already have people that do that. And not to even talk about you probably not even gonna have time to do that. You know what I mean? Because you as an M licensed person, you're going to have a lot of job to do. Talk less of you not doing S and E. Nah, for the most part, you're just going to be focusing on M license job. But the good thing is you having an M1 and M2 can, let's say you're a contractor, you want to like bounce from avionics to, you know what I mean? It gives you that leverage. But for me, I think you just focusing more on one part of the maintenance and building that strong foundation and experience, I think is the best way to go. Because let's say, for example, you have your M1 and M2. The imagination of people when they talk about license guys is like, oh, you probably know everything. You know what I mean? And but hey, over the past couple years, you've only been working on M license, but you get an opportunity with E license and you don't know that much. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like I feel like you just having one license, building that really strong foundation will help you more than having multiple licenses. You know? Do you have any type certificate? Yes, I do. I have the 220 and I'm about to get the 87. And those are my two favorite aircraft right now, the 87 and the 220. I love the 220, man. A lot of people don't like it, and I understand why they don't like it because of the problematic. The 220 is not really. It's still in the early phase of manufacturing, so it's not really. There's still a lot of problems, but for me, I just think it's maintenance friendly. You know. Yes, there's a lot of bad side. You know, there's a lot of nuisance messages. There's a lot of problem with the engine. You know, we do a lot of boroscope, and there's a lot of problem with that engine, man. But I still like it though. I like that plane, man. Like I got the opportunity to fly the jump seat one day, and I'm telling you, it's a different experience. Flying the jump seat and the passenger seat is like two different experiences, man. I never had that experience, but the time I had it, man, I'm like, psh, yeah. So we got one question. Do you think avionics is for only people who knows a lot of electrical stuff? Yeah, avionics is for the electrical part of maintenance. So you're going to be doing a lot of electrical repairs, system updates, a lot of troubleshooting. So yeah, it's for mostly for people that have um, electrical background or like anything electrical. Me, I've never been a fan of electrical, man. I remember in class when I was in school, we had this course called solid state, and it was like 90% electrical. And particularly, I was doing bad, bro. Like, I didn't really like it. It was my worst subject ever. I didn't like it at all. After leaving school, is it hard to find a job? Did it take long to find a job? For me, when I graduated, it was really hard to get a job. And the reason why is back then, and I'm talking about 7, 8 years ago. You know, back then the market was really bad. The job market was really bad. Now the job market is opening up, even for apprentice. So it's a little bit easier, but is it going to be like way more easy? No. You got to make a lot of sacrifices. You got to be ready to move, man. I tell people, getting that first job is like the first step. Like it helps a lot. Once you get that first job, man, it's going to be way more easy to get your second job. You know what I mean? But getting that first job um, requires a little bit of effort. You know, you got to be ready to relocate. You got to be ready to settle for less pay. You know, like I'm telling you, man. Now it's even better. They're paying apprentice 24, sometimes $28 an hour, $30 an hour. Apprentice right from school. When I started, I was getting $19. I had people that was getting $14 an hour as an apprentice. But a lot of guys then they did it because they saw the future was a little bit brighter once they get their license. So yes, starting off as an apprentice, now it's going to be a little bit easy, but it's not going to be all the way easy. Like you still gotta put in some effort. Like you're not just gonna sit down at home and start applying for jobs online, and you're going to get a job tomorrow. No, you gotta put in a lot of effort. Dropping your resume in person. If your goal is to work for an airline, make sure you get like your driver license. Get your radio license. You know what I mean? get some type of hands-on skills. It does not have to be maintenance. It could be car mechanic. It could be construction. It could be plumbing. Those are the hand skills that can give you leverage. It does not have to be physically a mechanic, aircraft maintenance. Those are the things people are looking for. Companies are looking for. You got to stand out from people because graduating from school, you're graduating with like 300 people from the same class. And guess what? The same 300 people are applying for the same job. So how do you stand out? You can stand out through experience, which most people don't have. Co-op experience, internship experience. Not everybody gets that privilege to have that co-op experience or internship experience. You know. But hey, you can get your driver license. You can get your radio license. You can try to get some type of hands-on skills. It could be plumbing. You can get like a car mechanic experience. You can get like a construction job just to make it look good on your resume. And once you get out, you gotta be ready to like instead of applying online, you gotta try and drop your resume. Man, when I was looking for a job, I never tell people this story, but when I was looking for a job, I remember the first couple weeks, I was just applying online like everybody, and that was one of my biggest mistakes I made, man. Like it's part of the mistakes I made starting up my journey. And I tell people this, I was just applying online like everybody else, and I was not getting no job. Surprisingly, of course, I'm not gonna get no job. But my mentality, I got a job when my mentality switched. I remember, I applied for only two companies in person. I only dropped my resume for only two companies. That same week, I got a call. I remember this clearly, man. The first company I went to was an M1 company. I took the boss to the company. I'm like, hey, I just graduated from school. I'm looking for a job, and I dropped my resume. They didn't call me. But the second company I went to the next day was Bombadi. I'm like, hey, I just graduated from school. This is my resume. I'm looking for any job opportunity. It's like, oh yeah, okay, we're gonna get back to you. The next day they called me. Hey, Peter, we got your resume. Are you down for an interview? I'm like, yeah. I did the same interview the same week they called me. So me just taking that extra step made my life a little bit more easy because everybody are doing the same thing. Everybody are just applying online. It's so easy to get on your computer, apply online, but if you really, it depends on how bad you want it, man. Depends on how bad. So you got to make that sacrifice, man. And also, another stuff that really pushed my job opportunity was I was not ready to relocate, man. Like I remember my friends were getting job opportunity. There's a company called Jazz in Halifax, JTS. They were hiring a lot of people from school because they have problem with keeping people. Because a lot of people come there because of the low pay. A lot of people go there, work for like a year, get their license, and they leave. So they have problem keeping apprentices. So that year they were actually hiring a lot of apprentices from school. My friend told me like, "Yo, Peter, apply to Halifax." I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to leave Toronto. I want to stay with my friends." You know. But guess what? I didn't get a job. That pushed my job opportunities way back. If I have applied for that job, I'll probably be licensed way earlier than I was. So those are the sacrifices you gotta make, man. You know what I mean? Be ready to relocate. It's not gonna be easy, but it's possible. It's even way more possible now than 8 years ago. So Canadore College has a 1 year program for structure. Yeah, like I said, structure. There's a lot of 1 year. Centennial College does the same thing. I believe it's like 6 months to a year program for structure. But for M license, no, there's no college that does a year program. It's mostly 2 years. There's also a 3 year bachelor's and structure program at Canadore College. Yeah, I know I'm not really familiar with this college, but I know yes, there is a 3 year program for maintenance. In Centennial College, the college I went to, they had a 3 year program. And the reason why they had a 3 year program was they had it like a management program with the maintenance. So you do the first 2 years of maintenance and you do 1 year of like aircraft maintenance management. For me, I think that's is useless because when companies are looking for management, they don't really. Yes, yeah, you having a diploma of management is yes, it's okay, but they look for people that have been in the company for a little bit longer time. They prioritize those people more. You know what I mean? So the online course I was talking about was mostly for people that was called already had like a license back home, right? And they're trying to convert the license to Canadian license, and they still have some requirements to meet, right? So let's say the education now back home was not up to the Canadian standard. So a lot of that, I forgot what it was called, but now it's not available anymore. It's bought by a new company. But yeah, the online course was for people that already had the license back home, and they're trying to transfer the license to the Canadian one, and some of they don't have the whole requirements. So a lot of them just do that online courses just to meet up with the Canadian requirement. But yeah, so we got one question: how does weather impact the work of an aircraft technician, particularly in line maintenance and heavy maintenance? Yeah, weather is a big, it's a big factor to consider. The reason why I'm sick right now is because I've been working outside, and some days is like during the afternoon. Like recently, the weather in Canada has been really terrible. Sometimes in the afternoon is really really hot, and sometimes it's cold. But sometimes it's hot in the afternoon when I'm working outside. It's like -1 degrees. So you have those, and not even talk about when it's raining, it's snowing. Oh my goodness. So those are the factors you got to consider, and it's definitely impact. Not like impact the quality of our work, but like it's one of the factors that could be detrimental as an aircraft maintenance because you're going to be working outside, especially in line maintenance. You're going to be working outside all the time, man. But heavy maintenance is a little bit, you're in a controlled environment whereby you bring your aircraft inside. For the most part, your aircraft is inside for like 6, 7 months. Sorry, that's not 6, 7 months, but like 2 months. You know, so you're more in a controlled environment for heavy maintenance, but line maintenance, man, you're probably outside all the time. Cold, hot, raining, snowing, and it could be annoying sometimes. It could be tedious sometimes, man. But that's something you got to sign up for. It's one of the requirements. Whenever they employ you, it's one of the requirements. Like, hey, are you comfortable working in extremely hot, cold weather? You know. But yeah, for me, I like it though. Um, it's never been a problem to me, to be honest. Obviously, I don't like cold, but I think I've gotten used to it. So we got one question. Can you graduate and go straight to M2 license, or you have to get M1 first? So you can graduate and go to M2 straight. There is no step that you have to go from M1 to M2. No. So you graduate. I'm sorry, guys. You graduate. You choose if you want to work for M1 or M2. You get your logbook signed based on the category you are, and you get your license. So if you graduate and you work for like an M2 company, most of your logbook sign off is going to be M2. Once I make that, I just gotta edit that. I've been slacking. So you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to take my time and edit that video and try to post it, explaining the logbook. But yeah, so there's no step that you have to go from M1 to M2. No, you just gotta finish school, then you decide if you want to choose M1 or M2, and you can get your logbook based on the category you're working at. So we got one question. How much were the courses for the type certificate? I heard it's quite expensive, quite a bit. For me, luckily, I'm privileged enough to work for a company that pays for your type certificate. Um, and most companies that I know, pay for your type certificate. if you work for a company, but you just gotta sign a contract. Like, let's say you're going to work for the company for, if they give you a type certificate, you gotta work for the company for like a year or two. you know. But if you want to get a type certificate yourself, it's definitely going to be expensive, like a lot of money. Just for the 3/7 course, you're looking at least $8,000, at least $4 to $8,000. The 8/7 I believe was like 20,000 or something. Yeah, it's quite expensive. But if you work for a company that, most company will give you that type course, like they need you, because without that type course you cannot sign a maintenance release, you know. So most company will I'm sorry guys, man. um Most companies will give you that type course. Yeah, but it's quite, trying to get that type course yourself, what is it called, it's quite expensive. Yeah, like I said, you can go straight to M1 or M2. Depends on, your personal choice, the company you work for. But yeah, we got one question. The hiring process isn't very easy. It takes time, but it depends on the company. Yeah, you work for a bigger, you apply to a bigger company. The hiring process can take 2 3 months, and because there's a bunch of steps, so they call you for, if you work for a bigger company, they call you first for, not even a interview. They call you for a visual interview whereby you record yourself and explain why you want to work for the company, the value you bring to the company. And if you pass that step, they call you for another second interview. It's like a, that's when you talk to the HR, you talk to the IR manager. Then after that, if you pass, they go through your background check. After that, then you got to do medical. After the medical day, you do your online boarding. But yeah, it could be quite a long process for a bigger company. But for most part, for smaller companies, they just call you for the interview. One interview, okay. If you're okay with the pay, they call you right away. Yeah, that's another factors that can help you. References can help you stand out. But sadly enough, not everybody has that opportunity, man. Like I did not have that opportunity. So I'm just talking from a point of view from someone that does not have references. Like guys, I have zero family member in aviation, like zero. I had to figure everything out myself. I made a lot of mistakes, and that's one of the reasons why I started this channel, so I can tell people like, hey, you can avoid this by doing this. You can do this by doing this. So you know what I mean. But if you have reference, man, it's definitely going to speed up your hiring process. But I'm just talking from a point of view from someone that had to figure everything out myself, man. Like I came to this country as an international student, no, age of 16, went to school, no connection, nothing. My first job, I had to, man, I went through hell getting that first job. Then after that, thank God, everything started getting more easier for me. So I'm here to help you guys out, learn from my mistake, um, guide you through the best of my best of my interest. Give you guys as much value as I can. I'm currently working on the website right now. It's going to be a prep website whereby people that are trying to write their license, the website is going to have thousands, hundreds, not thousands, but like hundreds of questions, practice questions. You know what I mean? So that way you guys can pass your exam easily, and it's all gonna be free. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to help people out, give more value to people. You know what I mean? Because I was in the same situation too, trying to figure everything out. But you having reference definitely gonna speed up your process. Which province for studying AME diploma in There's a lot of choices. Um, it depends on your choice, the benefit. You know, if you like a if you're like an international student and your goal is to get your permanent residence fast, that's something you gotta consider. That's one factor you gotta consider. If you're like a French speaking person, that's another factor you gotta consider, because there's a lot of I would say most provinces have that course, at least. You know what I mean? So there are factors you got to consider. Um, if your taste is like more population, Ontario is probably the best choice for you. If you're trying to get your permanent residence faster, look at provinces like Nova Scotia, Alberta, Regina. If you speak French, Quebec, you know what I mean? So those are the factors you got to consider when applying for this course. Yeah, like I said, in person, man. Like you applying for your job, it's in person. You dropping your resume in person makes a lot of difference. It shows the company that you're dedicated, you go for what you want, you're disciplined. Because more, bro, our generation, we are all lazy. Everybody's just on the computer applying for jobs. Hundreds companies are getting hundreds of job application. But you taking that extra step, regardless, some companies do have the policy of you still applying online. But if you can have to drop your resume in person and also apply online, man, you're definitely gonna stand out. So we got one question. What was the interview process like? What kind of questions did they ask? So far as an apprentice, and I'm gonna tell you guys from my um personal experience, the interview questions they asked me, nothing technical. So they're not gonna ask you what is hydraulic system, what is an engine, how do you generate? No, they're not gonna ask you no technical question. Uh, but they're going to ask you some problem solving questions. So let's say, for example, they may ask you like, um, if you get into like an altercation with a coworker, how do you address that situation? You know, let's say the aircraft comes in. You know, if you see a defect, are you gonna be honest? Like really, really basic questions. Nothing technical. Nothing technical. There's no technical question. It's like questions that you can answer without going to school. It's like personal questions. You know, why do you want to work for this company? Why do you choose our company? You know, where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10 years? Those are the questions they're going to ask you, and that's for apprentice right from school. You know, but if you get your license, it might be a little bit different situation. So which province is good for studying for aircraft deployment in Canada for the PMPs, PR, and opportunity? So if you're looking to get your permanent residence fast and a province that has a lot of opportunity, uh, I would say Quebec is probably the my best choice, and the reason why is there's aviation. When it comes to aviation, Quebec is the hub. Like I'm telling you, Quebec is the hub for aviation. There's a lot of job opportunities here. There's less competition compared to other provinces, and it's also, if from what I heard, it's easy to get your permanent residence here. But the only backside is the language. You gotta ready to learn French. If you don't, Ontario is good, but man, the permanent residence there, to get your permanent residence, I have a subscriber right now is going through the same problem. It's hard for him to get his permanent residence in Ontario, man. The competition is really high. But yeah, what is it called? For me personally, I feel like Quebec is probably the best option. But the only backside is the French language. If you can learn French, definitely it's the best because there's more opportunities here. There's lesser competition, and it's easier to get your permanent residence. Yeah. Hey, bro, do you work at? No, I don't work at YYZ. I work YUL. while you're is Manitoba has a lot of job opportunities for AME. Manitoba is okay. It's okay, but it's probably gonna be harder to get a job after school though. From my point of view. But for your permanent residence, yeah, you're gonna get that shit in like a year. There's more. You can get your permanent residence easily, but to get a job there can be a little bit difficult, and that's because there's not as much opportunity as Ontario or Quebec. You know what I mean? I'll say you're probably better off in Alberta than Manitoba. So, what's the worst mistake you've seen crew members make? Are you talking about pilots and stuff like that? I mean, we are all humans. I don't really focus on people's mistakes. I don't. That's not the type of energy I'm trying. I don't. I mean, people make mistakes, and who am I to judge? I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. You know what I mean? But yeah, thanks a lot for the information, bro. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Like, I'm glad you guys for even, man, what time is it? 4 p.m. and you guys still show up, and it means a lot to me. That means I'm doing something right. People appreciate my effort. You know what I mean? It means a lot to me. Thank you guys for your support. Also, it gives me that. It's like a catalyst for me to come here every day when I see people showing up. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. My goal is to be doing it twice a week now, consistently. Right now, my time is 3 p.m. on Friday and 5 p.m. on Saturday until April 17th. And the reason why is I'm going to have a type course class April 17th. So my schedule is going to change all over again. You know what I mean? But for now, I'm going to be coming 3 p.m. to 5. And yeah, I will try to be consistent with this live video. And yeah, like I said, if you guys have any personal questions, I do offer free consultation. All you have to do is text me on Instagram. My Instagram is Peter. I'm gonna put it right here. So yeah, this is my Instagram, Peter Janded. Just text me and we can schedule a call and talk about how I can help you out. But yeah, I got like 5 more minutes here. I actually have work tonight. I gotta work tonight, so I have to cook, take a little nap, and get ready for work. Is ENA Quebec has a good AME course? I don't know what ENA is. What's ENA? Let me see. ENA Quebec. Is that like a school or something? Yeah, I think it's a trade school. But yeah, I believe every school, I've never heard of a bad school to be honest. And the school you go to does not really matter. The school does not matter. I mean, it matters to an extent in terms of like, you know, the quality, right? Uh, like some schools offer co-op program, some schools don't. But when it comes to finding a job, employers are not looking at your resume and saying, "Oh, you went to Centennial College. I'm going to prioritize them over." No, they don't do that. Uh, but yeah, every school I think has good course. As far as being approved by Transport Canada, that's all that matters, to be honest. I actually have a video on my channel that's that lists all the schools that are approved by Transport Canada. You can just check it out. I believe it's just one school in Alberta. Let me see. AME course in Alberta. Yeah, there's one called SAIT. But yeah, just check online. There's a lot of online. You can check online. I don't thing is I don't have personal relationship with all the schools, so I can't really tell if they're good schools. I'm just telling you from like someone from outside. You going to any type of school does not matter when it comes to job opportunity, because companies are not looking at the type of school you go to. It depends on the value you can give. Are you good with your hands? Like those are the stuff they look at. They don't look at the schools you go to. But yeah, I believe every school that have been approved by Canada is probably yeah. So say ENA is a good school, has a lot of good lab, plenty planes to practice on, and offer core program. The only problem is you have to be able to. You see, yeah. So this is someone that probably have more experience with ENA. Yeah, ENA. You can say and this is a good thing I love about this community, man. Like someone that always has an answer for it. But yeah, like I said, someone just said ENA is a pretty good school. They do offer core program. Shit, definitely, this is a plus. You know, the reason why I say core program is a plus is if you work for a company do your core program, there is 90% of chances you're probably gonna get employed by the company after school, and there's a lot of factors that depend on that. Your attitude, your attendance, are you good with the people, and also how much relationship have you built with those people you work with, right? But it's going to make your life way more easy. You having a core program. But yeah, someone said EN is a pretty good school. I definitely believe. I think every schools are pretty good. You know, you just gotta choose your. I went to Centennial College. If you ask me in this school, I would say Centennial College because I had a past experience, a really good past experience with Centennial College. Um, they had a lot of benefit. They had the core program. They had a lot of planes to practice on. But yeah, with due respect, if hotel room attendant and aircraft mechanic earn smaller wage 25 to 35, why isn't the pay of mechanic more competitive given to the high demand and shortage? So the biggest problem I see, especially with aircraft maintenance, is we don't have a strong and actually it's getting better now. We don't have that much strong bond compared to like a pilot. Like pilots, man, if pilots go on strike, they go on strike. You know what I mean? But maintenance, we don't have that much strong bond. But it's increasing now. See what happened to what is it called with the WestJet aircraft maintenance. They went on strike. They got better wage. If stuff like that happens, then and there's more public eyes because there isn't that much public eye. People, man, if you ask people about aircraft maintenance, I can guarantee you 60% of people don't know that much about aircraft maintenance. You know, so there isn't a lot of attention on aircraft maintenance in general. And we are really quiet. We don't tell people more about our job. So what is the incentive of companies to value us as much as us this, as a pilot, because we don't really put ourselves that much out there. Like I was telling my some of my friends, like, hey, you guys want to do because I want to start doing interview. A lot of them are telling me, nah, I want to do interview. You know what I mean? Like, how can we create exposure to this course if we're not ready to expose ourselves? And attention is nowadays attention is money. Attention is equals to money. You know what I mean? The more attention you can get on yourself or your career, the more money you can make. You know what I mean? I think we're just really quiet. We don't have that strong of a union. It's definitely going to change though, eventually. But yeah, guys, I have like 4 minutes. I gotta get ready for work. I'm gonna be back 5 p.m. tomorrow and do like an hour live video. Do you have any mechanical repair or is it mostly maintenance like changing oil? I do have mechanical repair sometimes. It's when you get your HEM license, you do everything. Mechanical repair. Let's say, for example, you can easily fix the part. Let's say, for example, the part has like a gasket that is leaking, right? You can remove the parts, order the gasket, put it back, and fix them. You know, so we do a lot of everything. We do everything: mechanical repairs, oil change, tire change, brakes, everything. Which is better for province and for PR in Canada after passing AME? Um, Quebec is a good one. Alberta is a good one. Nova Scotia is a good one. Newfoundland, shit, it's a good one. But cities like provinces like Ontario, BC, man, the competition is really really high, man. Especially Ontario. Oh my goodness. Like I was checking the CRS score recently, and I believe it's like 500 and like 520, which is really really high, really high. But yeah, there's a lot of options. The only problem I have is just the job opportunities there. That's it. And for me, the weather, the weather there, you go to like really up north, see provinces, cities, like you're having like 2 months of summer. That's it. That's all you get, man. Yeah, there's a lot of job opportunities. Yeah, up north, definitely. But you got to be ready to sacrifice family time, the weather, everything. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for today. I appreciate the love you guys showing up. Like I said, my Instagram, I do offer free consultation. If you guys have any personal question, you need someone to guide you through, you can text me on Instagram at Peter Janet. This is it right here. I offer free consultation. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for coming out today, man. It means a lot to me. Means a lot to me. You guys appreciate the little effort I'm putting in my information. I'm gonna be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. This will be my regular schedule until April 17. And after April 17, I'm going to reschedule myself again and see how I can make this live video. But I appreciate the love. And for you guys that are new to my channel, please do not forget to subscribe. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. All right? Appreciate the love, man. Take care.